Hello, in this video I'm going to explain a business case where we have multiple subcontractors and also the dropship process. I will divide this presentation in three parts. So the first one is to explain the business flow, the second the configuration that we need to do in Odoo, and the first one the process, how it is executed in the database. So first about the business flow, let's imagine that we have a company that produces electric bikes, and in this case we are not handling any inventory in our warehouse, so we only subcontract our products and we provide the components to the subcontractors, and we ask to the subcontractors deliver directly to our clients. So this is good because we don't have physical space, we don't have this storage cost, and we avoid some risks of having these products in our warehouse. And the only thing we do is to purchase and to sell the products and take advantage of the expertise of our subcontractors. So basically what we do here, let's imagine that we produce or that we sell only two products, an electric bike moved by a solar panel and another one moved by a lithium battery. Those are our finished products, so they are here in yellow in the diagram, and we subcontract these two products from two different companies. So this bike is, of course, we needed very specific expertise, so we use the expertise of Solar Inc. in order to have this final product, and the one that is moved by a lithium battery, we subcontract from a different company. What happens, let's imagine that we are selling the electric bike. We can only subcontract from this company, but the semi-finished product, which is the bike without any battery, the classic one, let's say, we can subcontract from two different companies, one called Super Bikes and one called Universal Bikes. So here we can decide if we are subcontracting the level 2 of our bill of materials from this or this subcontractor. And all the components can be provided from different suppliers to both subcontractors. So if I'm producing here in Superbikes, I can ask supplier A and B to send the components to Superbikes, or if I'm producing here from Universal, I can ask supplier A and B to send the components directly here. And the flow would be the same if I am producing the electric bike with lithium battery, because the only difference is that I am subcontracting from this company, but all the rest of the process is the same. I can decide from which subcontractor level 2 I will subcontract my bike, and the components would be the same. So the configuration. First of all, we need here in manufacturing to activate the subcontracting option here in configuration settings. So this will activate some locations and also some routes in my database. And we need also to use a multi-level bill of material. So in this case, I have here my bill of materials. I have one for my electric bike solar panel, which is type subcontracting, and I say that I subcontract only from this subcontractor, Solar Inc. And the same for my lithium battery bike, I subcontract only from this company, so the type is the same, subcontracting. And both bill of materials, they share this component, which is my semi-finished bike without battery. And in this case, my bill of materials is also subcontracting, but I have two possibilities here. I can subcontract it from Super Bikes or Universal Bikes, as I have here in my diagram. I can select these two companies. And what is important to mention is that here I only add in my bill of materials the components that I will provide to my subcontractors and also the components that I subcontract. I don't need to control small pieces like bolts, cables, or lights, whatever. So everything that these subcontractors are supposed to have in order to finish my bike or to finish my final products, I don't need to add in the bill of materials, because here it's only the ones that I will provide or I will subcontract. So you can see that the bill of materials is shorter than the full bill of materials describing how to assemble the electric bike with solar panel. Usually when I have the process being done in-house, I would need to have all the components, but this is not the case here. So the inventory configuration is basically here to activate from these settings multi-step routes and storage locations. And by activating these two options, Odoo will create some locations. And what is important here, because I want to control the quantities with each subcontractor. So as I have 4 subcontractors, I want to have 4 different locations to see which one has each product. Then what I need to do here is to go to my configuration locations, and they create 4, and all of them are below the standard location subcontracting. What is important to mention here is that all locations belongs to the parent location physical, and they are not linked to our warehouse. So this means that the process is completely handled externally. And also what is important here to mention is that all locations should be linked to each vendor. So if I go here in purchases and suppliers, I see that Battery Corp, when I have here the debug mode activated, in this tab, sales and purchases, I can see the inventory section, and I can link Battery Corp with the subcontracting location Battery Corp, and the same here for Solar Inc. So each subcontractor has the respective location linked here. The only exception is when I have the vendors. So imagine that we have 2 vendors here, the supplier A and supplier B. I don't need to control quantities in this case. So if we check their contact, they are using the standard location. So we don't need to change anything here. And we created some operation types to cover this flow. The new operation types are the yellow ones here. I basically duplicated the standard operation types and I adapted according to this need. So just to contextualize where each operation is used here in this flow, when I send purchase orders to my suppliers, and instead of receiving in my company as Odoo does by default, as I don't have my warehouse here in this process, I will send directly to my subcontractor level 2. So I created this operation receipt superbikes, just following this example. I created this operation type to receive my quantities here, my components here. Then I have my second operation type, which is subcontracting superbikes to record the production. So I can transform my components in my semi-finished product. And I have one for Superbikes, and I have another one here for Universal. And the third step, which is send from subcontractor level 2 to subcontractor level 1. I have a third operation type here, that is the delivery order from Superbikes. So I'm sending from Superbike to Solar Inc. And the last operation type is this number 4, where I am sending from Solar Inc. directly to my client, and I don't receive, I bypass my company. So just to show how the operation types are configured here, I will go first here in operation type. So again, the first one, when I receive the products in Superbike, I have this receipt Superbike operation type. So the only thing that I have here is a different sequence, and the type is receipt. And what is important is the default destination location, that is Superbikes. And the second operation type, when I manufacture when Superbike manufactures my semi-finished product, is this one. So if I go to this operation type, I can see that is pretty much the same. Again, receipt, and the default destination is also Superbikes. The only difference is that here I'm receiving in this location my semi-finished product, and the previous operation type was to receive my components. And then I have the third operation here, that is sending from Superbike to Solar Inc. So I have this delivery order. The only difference here is that I have the operation type as delivery, and instead of filling the default destination location, I filled the default source location, because I'm sending from Superbikes to the next step in my my diagram. And of course, each operation type should have a different sequence. Be careful with that. And the last step, which is my dropship, I'm sending directly. So I have this operation, dropship from Solar Inc. So when Solar Inc. finishes the production of my final product, I have an operation type that is receipt from Solar Inc. to customer location. So this is basically the same dropship operation type, the standard one, unless by the fact that I created my one because I'm sending from this specific location. So the next configuration we need to do, as we have a possibility to define if I will subcontract from Superbike or from Universal Bikes, as we have here these decisions in my flow. I can define this operation or this process manually through operation types. So what I did here was to define that every time I need my semi-finished product, my bike, either in Battery Corp or in Solar Inc., as I have here different locations, I will define myself if I will subcontract from Superbikes or Universal Bikes. So in both cases, when I am here in the subcontracting level 1, I can define from which subcontracting level 2 I will send my purchase order. And the same, I created some reordering replenishment rules here for the components, the frame and wheels, because I need to send both from suppliers, and I want to do this process manually instead of doing it automatically by using MTO routes, for example. So the next configuration is the route. So here in this case, I kept MTO and the standard routes of subcontract and dropship archived. What I did was I created 5 new routes, the ones here in yellow, and you can see here in the diagram in each moment they are used. So the one that I call here by components, they are used here to trigger the purchase orders to my suppliers. So I can go here in inventory and routes, and I show that I have 2 rules, 2 by rules here. I'm linking, in this case, I call this rule by Superbikes because I'm buying and I'm delivering to my Superbikes subcontractor. So this is why I'm linking here to this operation type, and the destination location, again, Superbike. And I have a second rule because sometimes I can also buy and deliver directly to my subcontractor Universal Bike. So it's linked to my operation type receipt in Universal Bikes in this location that is the same of my subcontractor. So this route applies here. And the second route, which is subcontract Superbikes, let's imagine again that I'm subcontracting the electric bike with solar panel. So the second route is to produce my bike. And then if I go here to route subcontract Superbikes, I see that I have 2 rules using the pull from action. So in this case, I am using the first one for the situation where I need to send from Superbikes to Solar Inc. So I have a pull from, and I am linking the delivery order Superbikes because I'm sending here from Superbikes to Solar Inc. And here I am triggering another rule. And in this case, as I'm defining the destination of my product, that is which is Solar Inc., I can also link the partner address here. So the delivery order will be created accordingly. And I have also cases where I send from Superbikes to Battery Corp. So I link to a different location. In this case, I have here the delivery order Superbike as my operation type. The source location is the same, but here the destination is different, and also my partner address. And at the end, I need to create always a purchase order for my subcontractor level 2. So I also need to have a rule whose type is by, and here in this case, as I created this route linked to Superbikes, I have my operation type related to Superbikes and the destination location Superbike. But in case I have the universal bikes being the one selected to produce my product, you see that I have exactly the same, unless by the fact that here I have an operation type subcontract to universal bikes and the destination location is different. So the third step in this case is when I send or directly my product from my subcontractor level 1 Solar Inc. to my client. So I created this Dropship Solar Inc. route, which is very similar to the standard one. The only difference here is that I have the location as the operation type is Dropship from Solar Inc. So it makes that the default source location is Solar Inc. instead of the standard one that is vendor, but I kept the standard location customers here as my destination. So I have one route for Solar Inc. and I have another route for the Battery Corp. According to each subcontractor, I have a different route. And here is the link between my products and my route. So the components are linked to my by components route, as I show it here. The semi-finished product is linked to two different routes. I can select sometimes Superbike or sometimes Universal Bikes from my replenishment rules, which is this step of my process. And my final products, they can be linked to one specific route. In this case, the lithium battery product is linked to the Battery Corp route, and the solar panel product is linked to the Dropship from Solar Inc. And the last configuration that I have here is the purchases. I need to activate the Dropship option in order to have my Dropship route and operation type, which I used to create my new ones. So now the process here in Odoo. As I said, we start the process from my client. And in this case, let's imagine that the same client will buy both products at the same time, the solar panel and the lithium battery bike. So I need to trigger two different subcontracting processes in my level 1. I will send one purchase order to Solar Inc. and one purchase order to Battery Corp. In this example, I will define that I will produce both semi-finished products, my regular bike using the services of Superbikes. So I will have only one purchase order here. So Superbikes should produce one bike and send to Solar Inc. and the other one to Battery Corp. And of course, in order to produce these two bikes, they will need some components which will be provided by supplier A and B. So I need to send also two extra purchase orders here for these two suppliers. So how to do it in Odoo? I will start creating here my sales order, and then I will select my two products, the electric bike and my solar panel bike. When I confirm, I have two purchase orders, so I am creating these purchase orders over here. One to Solar Inc. and the other one to Battery Corp. What is important here to mention is that if we see the product is according to each subcontractor, and in this case we are not receiving anything in our warehouse because we don't have a warehouse, we are drop shipping directly to the client. So I confirm this first purchase order. I confirm the second purchase order. We have here again the same structure, the drop ship directly to my client. And if we go to our inventory app, we can see that we have two different documents here, one from Solar Inc. to my client and the other one from Battery Corp. So now I need to take my decision. We are here. I will select between Superbikes or Universal Bikes. In this case, I will do everything in Superbike. So what I need to do here is to go to replenishment, and I will group by location. And I see that Battery Corp, they need one bike, and I can decide if I will subcontract between these two suppliers. So in this case, as I said, I will subcontract from Superbike, so I create one purchase order. And the same here, Solar Inc., they also need one bike. So I will send, according to here my forecast, they need 1 bike. So I will also send a purchase order to Superbikes. Now, if we go to our inventory overview, we see that we have 2 delivery orders from Superbikes because they need to send one to Solar Inc. and one to Battery Corp, as we can see here. But we still cannot do it because we need to produce the bikes first. Then at this point of time, we have here in purchases a new purchase order to Superbikes, and this purchase order is grouping the 2 needs. So I have 2 bikes, and my operation type, that is very important, is subcontract Superbikes, because when I finish this process, I will have 2 bikes, my semi-finished product, in this location, in Superbikes. So I will confirm this purchase order. So when I do it, I am confirming this purchase order, and I need to go back here to my inventory overview to see that I have 1 document to process, but I still cannot finish this manufacturing process because I need to send my components to Superbikes. So if I go here to replenishment, I can see that I have a need of 2 frames and 2 pairs of wheels. I have 2 different suppliers, so the only thing I need to do here is to trigger the purchase order to resupply my Superbikes location. The first and the second. Now I sent these 2 purchase orders over here. I will just confirm one to my supplier frameworks to send 2 frames to my Superbikes subcontractor. I confirm. And the second one, again, 2 pairs of wheels to be sent to my Superbike subcontractor. And the supplier is this one, Wheels Rubber. Okay, now we start the process going backwards. So both suppliers will send the products to Superbikes. So if I go here to my inventory overview, I will process both. It means that Superbikes are receiving 2 pairs of wheels from Wheels Rubber. Validate. And Superbikes are also receiving 2 frames from frameworks. Now if we check our inventory report, I can see 2 frames and 2 pairs of wheels in Superbikes. It coincides with this step of my process. Then I need to produce my semi-finished product here in Superbike. And then I go to my inventory overview and I will process this document. When I validate and I check my inventory report, I consumed my frames and my wheels, and now I have 2 bikes here in my Superbike location. Now I need to send one to Solar Inc. and the other one to Battery Corp. So I go to my inventory overview again. I have these 2 documents here waiting to be processed. I will process the first one, Solar Inc. I will just check availability. I can see that the delivery address is Solar Inc. and I will just validate. And the second one here, I will send from Superbikes to Battery Corp, check availability, and validate. Here, if we check our inventory report again, I have 1 semi-finished bike in Battery Corp and 1 semi-finished bike in Solar Inc. So it corresponds to this step of my process. And then I have my last step, which is finish my final product and drop ship directly to my client, bypassing my company. So if we go back to our inventory overview, this document represents exactly this moment. So when Solar Inc. finishes this process and sends directly to my client, I just validate this dropship, and the same from Battery Corp. They process the document and send directly to the client. So if we check our inventory report, we have nothing because we never received any quantity in our internal locations, and also the subcontracting locations are empty because all the process has been done and the client just received the final product. So then the process finishes here. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and Thank you for watching.